If you want to understand why Japan has one of the lowest cancer mortality rates in the world, don't start by looking at their hospitals. Don't assume it's genetics. Don't assume it's some secret medical breakthrough. Look at what millions of Japanese adults do within the first 30 minutes of waking up every single morning. Because what researchers found in places like Okinawa and Nagano, two of the longest lived regions in human history, wasn't meditation, wasn't ice baths, and wasn't a miracle drug. It was a specific sequence of morning habits involving what they consume, how they consume it, and when. And here's what makes this powerful. Those habits appear to directly influence how cancer cells grow, survive, and replicate inside the human body. Most people assume the Japanese live longer and experience lower cancer rates because of genetics. That explanation feels safe. It suggests there's nothing we can do about it. But here's the problem with that theory. When Japanese families move to the United States and adopt a Western diet and lifestyle, their cancer rates rise, often within 1 or 2 generations. The DNA didn't change. The habits did. That's not a small detail. That completely dismantles the idea that longevity in Japan is primarily genetic. What it tells us is this: the protection appears to be overwhelmingly behavioral, and the most powerful of those behaviors begins before breakfast. Let's talk about what's happening biologically. After the age of 50, 3 critical cancer defense systems in your body begin to weaken at the same time. First, your DNA repair enzymes slow down. The speed at which your cells correct copying errors drops significantly. Second, your immune surveillance declines. The natural killer cells that patrol your tissues looking for abnormal cells become less aggressive. Third, your body's ability to suppress tumor angiogenesis, the process by which cancer recruits blood vessels to grow, weakens. That third one matters more than most people realize. A microscopic cluster of abnormal cells can remain harmless for years, frozen at the size of a pinhead, until it gains access to a blood supply. Once blood vessels feed it, growth can accelerate rapidly. Now here's why morning matters. Within the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking, your body experiences a natural cortisol surge. This isn't stress cortisol. This is your wake-up hormone. That surge primes immune cells, especially natural killer cells, for peak activity. Morning is when your immune system is most biologically prepared to identify and eliminate abnormal cells. What you do during that window either strengthens those systems or weakens them. The traditional Japanese morning practice strengthens all 3 at once. Let's break down the components. First, green tea, specifically high-quality matcha or sencha, consumed shortly after waking. The key compound here is EGCG, a catechin that has been extensively studied. EGCG has been shown in laboratory research to interfere with VEGF, the signal cancer cells use to recruit blood vessels. In simple terms, it acts like a biological signal jammer. No new blood vessels, no rapid tumor expansion. Multiple large population studies have found strong associations between regular green tea consumption and reduced risk of several cancer types, particularly digestive and bladder cancers. Second, fermented foods. Traditional Japanese breakfasts often include natto, fermented soybeans. Natto feeds a specific gut bacterium called Akkermansia mucinifila. This bacterium has been identified in research as strongly associated with improved immune response, including response to cancer immunotherapy. Even in Western populations, fermented foods and certain polyphenols have been shown to increase Akkermansia populations dramatically within weeks. Your gut microbiome influences immune surveillance, and fermented foods shift that microbiome towards species associated with better cancer defense. Third, mild caloric moderation. The Japanese concept of harahachi-bu means eating until you are about 80% full. That slight caloric gap activates autophagy, your cell's internal cleanup process. Autophagy clears damaged cellular components, including precancerous debris. It's like a built-in recycling system. These 3 components, green tea, fermented food, and mild caloric moderation, activate 3 different protective pathways at the same time: anti-angiogenesis, immune surveillance, DNA repair support. Now let's talk practical implementation. Here's what a biologically optimized morning could look like. First, give your body 15 to 20 minutes after waking before consuming anything. Allow that natural cortisol surge and immune priming to complete. Second, prepare 1 cup of matcha green tea properly. Use about 1 teaspoon of quality matcha. Water temperature matters, around 175 degrees Fahrenheit, not boiling. Boiling water can degrade catechins. Add the juice of half a lemon. Vitamin C dramatically improves catechin absorption. Avoid dairy. Proteins in dairy bind to catechins and reduce absorption. If matcha isn't available, high-quality loose-leaf green tea works, ideally 3 cups to approximate the EGCG content of 1 matcha serving. Third, include a fermented food. If natto isn't realistic for you, consider unsweetened fermented options like kimchi, raw miso, kefir, or even pomegranate, which supports Akkermansia growth through different compounds. The key is feeding beneficial bacteria daily. Fourth, eat a balanced breakfast, but stop before you're completely full. Include protein, such as eggs, healthy fats, fiber, and antioxidant-rich foods like berries. 2 eggs provide choline, which supports DNA methylation. Blueberries contain anthocyanins that support anti-angiogenic pathways. Ground flaxseed adds lignans that influence hormone-related cancer pathways. Then get at least 10 minutes of natural morning light. Morning light calibrates circadian clock genes that regulate DNA repair and immune activity. Disrupted circadian rhythm has been associated with higher cancer risk. Light exposure early in the day sets the timing of those cellular processes. Now let's talk about what undermines all of this. Adding dairy to green tea dramatically reduces catechin absorption. A high-sugar breakfast spikes insulin, which temporarily suppresses natural killer cell activity. Skipping fermented foods leaves the microbiome pathway unsupported. Replacing whole foods with high-dose supplements may reduce synergy and, in some cases, create unintended stress. Consistency matters more than perfection. This is cumulative biology. Feeding beneficial bacteria daily maintains their dominance. Daily catechin exposure repeatedly sends anti-angiogenic signals. Occasional inconsistency won't erase benefits, but abandoning the routine will. And one more important point. Track waist circumference, not just weight. Visceral fat secretes inflammatory compounds that impair immune function and promote tumor growth. 2 people can weigh the same but have very different metabolic risk profiles. Reducing visceral fat amplifies the effectiveness of these morning interventions. Let's summarize clearly. After 50, 3 cancer defense systems weaken: DNA repair, immune surveillance, and angiogenesis suppression. Morning is your highest yield biological window because your immune system is naturally primed. A simple ritual involving properly prepared green tea, fermented foods, mild caloric moderation, and morning light activates all 3 systems simultaneously. This isn't about miracle cures. It's about shifting the biological environment in which cancer cells either thrive or struggle. The research supporting these mechanisms spans large population studies, laboratory experiments, and clinical trials. There are no guarantees in medicine, but there are measurable shifts in probability, and those shifts begin with habits, often before your first cup of coffee. If this gave you a practical tool you can use tomorrow morning, share it with someone over 50. Because understanding how these systems work and how to support them changes the conversation from passive risk to active prevention. And that shift matters.